BIDI, Tunisia, October 30th, 2019. Well, BIDI is with you, and he greets you. Brothers and sisters, hello BIDI. We will spend a moment together, where questions and answers will emerge spontaneously, effortlessly, in a state of presence and absence, on the edge of consciousness. Beyond the meaning of your questions and my answers, you will see and experience a number of things. So, who wants to question? Silence. Don't be afraid, be direct. Silence. I have all the time in the world. Laughs. Brother, we have eternity. What is the first question that emerges? Do not hesitate. Silence. Sister, it is a written question from someone who is not present. Let's listen. Sister, thank you. I'm waiting for my phone. You have to speak up, on the microphone. Sister, thank you. I'm waiting for my phone to open before can access the question. Is that okay? Laughs. So, of course, you're on your electronic media? Sister, yes, of course, yes. Silence. Sister, it doesn't open. Our electronic media are slow, overloaded. Oh, here it starts. Sister, we enjoy the silence with you. I can see that. Sister, it's getting hot already. It's the silence. Sister, so, the brother, he asks what is the nature of the observer, the witness of consciousness, the witness. Sister, it's not over. Oh, yeah. Sister, thank you. Ah, that's good. The witness and the observer corresponds to the self. It is the one who is the spectator of the actor himself, who observes a certain form not of distance, but nevertheless of different point of view. The observer, the witness, effectively allows us to no longer be identified with the body, mind or history, and to make ourselves available. Very often, the I am, the self, which is not the absolute, has represented for many a first step, if I can say so, in the discovery and memory of the truth, which is the absolute. Today, things are a little different, because there are many of you, countless others even, discovering the truth, without having gone through the scam of the self and the I am. I recall that you have had many teachings in which it has been affirmed, and you have been able to verify it, that the self is only a mirror of the light, a new enclosure, in a way, in the illusion of spiritual fraud, and in the ultimate dream of consciousness. The observer and the witness must also disappear, not by any action, but the two, by a kind of crossing, or as Eber would say, of acceptance, which reveals to you the truth, obviously earlier than the observer, the witness, or the self. The self is the molecule called TMAN, or if you prefer, which leads to Brahman. It is knowledge that is ignorance, until you have discovered, and lived, that you are at the very source of consciousness. In the last years of my incarnation, I made that clear. There is an actor, there is a spectator, or a witness, or an observer. But at some point, if you do nothing, if you stay quiet, without asking for anything, without observing anything, without seeing anything, you will go directly to the source of consciousness, and you will realize that consciousness is also a total fraud. Many of you today live the spontaneity of the child, the lucidity of the truth, as soon as you are stripped of the illusion of the light reflected in you, which was called the I am. Today, you live it directly, passing from the person to the absolute and therefore to a consciousness. There is no point in living the whole thing until you are nothing. The source of consciousness is called by the person, as for the I am or the self, a form of deformation. Only he who allows himself to be crossed by the self, by the I am, without wanting to maintain it, without contemplating it, without wanting to benefit from the effects of this self, is really free. As long as you have not seen, and lived, that consciousness is a disease, you cannot be free, it is impossible. You depend on the perception, you depend on the vision. Even if it is enchanting, it is also a dream that passes. Only the immutable, which has always been there, is the truth. But you cannot perceive it, see it, or accept it, from the self. It is impossible. You must let go of all pretensions, become again, as Ego would say, like a child, in order to discover what is at the source of consciousness, that is, you. The source of the world, the source of all manifestations, the source of all suffering and joy. It is only when you remain motionless, in the great silence, in the here and now of the present instant, and release it without holding on to it and without holding it back, that you finally live true freedom, which is the absolute truth, the ultimate or the absolute, and which makes you live agape. As long as you care about yourself, the self cares about you. Everything that you value as a person, as a vision, as a perception, hinders you. And at that moment, you'll see that you are constantly oscillating between self and suffering. As the commander said, and as I repeat firmly, there are only two possible positions today, for the time being, which are either love or suffering. Remember the notions of transparency, humility, what one of the Western stars had called the little way or the way of childhood, which is true. Everything else is just passing through. When you are firmly beyond all perception, everything unfolds on your own. You're at the source of consciousness, at the source of all manifestation, and there is no one there. As long as there is self, there is somewhere, as the commander said a few years ago, an excessive spiritual pride. Don't be fooled by words, because, of course, it's very easy to reproduce my speech, but the words you're going to use are a travesty. Only the state called beyond any state, agape, which is stable and immutable whatever it passes through you within the character, within this body, as within the self, is the truth. Everything else passes, and fluctuates. This is how you make the difference between what is stabilized within the absolute, through your person, the moment when you become and become again the eternal and absolute I, where you are never again fooled by everything that can happen, appear, or disappear. The eternal I, prior to the form, prior to the world, is the only ineffable source of absolute truth and the perpetual establishment of the original state, which is also that final state. As long as you have not lived it, even if you try to justify it, you do not live the truth. The only witness of the truth is the joy which does not depend on any cause, any circumstance and, above all, on any element that may cross your path, at the personal level as well as at the level of any perception. I remind you that a consciousness is a perception. There is nothing to feel, because everything you feel only passes through, it's just experiences. The absolute will never be an experience, it is the moment when you remember who you are beyond being. You do not need visions, you do not need energies, you do not need evolution, you do not need to transform anything, but simply to lay down all the weapons, your perceptions, your visions, your measures or your appreciations. The absolute cannot be changed in any way as the days go by. As has been said, you can only recognize yourself. And at that moment, there is no longer any questioning about your own positioning, because your point of view depends neither your person, nor on yourself, nor on any perception. It is not enough to understand it, you have to accept it, and you will live it. But for yourself and for the person, remember, everything you hold dear holds you firmly. It is much easier today, for the simple-minded, to be free, than for the one who has built stories, who has gone through vibrations, and who has gone through visions. Do not let yourself be carried away in speeches, do not let yourself be carried away in perceptions. Who generates perception? There is no theater, everything is written, everything will pass into what is written. You have lived everything, you don't need to remember it, you just have to stop, to let perceptions, feelings, emotions, the mind go through. As long as you believe that you have something to do, to undertake, you are not there, whatever you say, whatever you think. The ultimate state, the absolute, agape, cannot leave any doubt. And even if there are apparent fluctuations, they too only cross you, do not grasp them, do nothing, welcome, accept your thoughts as well as your visions. There is no question here of refuting them, of denying them, but simply of not being interested in them, and in 5 minutes, it is over. but as long as you believe they are of any use to you, you are not. Do not ask yourself any questions about this. As long as you ask yourself any questions, inside or outside, about agape or the Absolute, it simply means that you have not found yourself beyond the manifestation. It is as simple as that. You must indeed become a child again, be lucid and present at every moment, without asking for anything, without understanding anything, without hogging anything, but really in every sense of the word. Let yourself go through, and you will discover the truth, and you will recognize yourself, and you will be saturated with joy without object, and you will be like a new child who has just been born. This is the truth that will never pass, everything else passes. Who is able to tell me that he has lived a perception, even the fire of the Sacred Heart, which remains permanently established? This is impossible, especially through the character, even if it is transcended. Only the immutability of great silence makes this possible. And, I repeat, you can only recognize yourself, it's infallible. You don't have to be reluctant, you don't have to object, just as I don't have to discuss this. Check it out for yourself, and you will come to exactly the same conclusion. You no longer need energies, you no longer need projections, you no longer need memories, you must be available, for the truth that you are, and for nothing else. That is the most important thing. Once this has been seen, once it has been lived, then it will be understood, and it will manifest itself through your simplest humanity, through the understanding and the living experience that all this is only a theatre scene, and that you are both each of the actors, each element of the set. You have built the set and the theatre, and that ultimately, really and concretely, in a proven and lived way, there is no one there. Life appeared at some point, the universe will pass and disappear, that you will always be there. It is an unshakable certainty of the one who lives it, who can no longer be led by the slightest perception, by the slightest vision, by the slightest feeling. It is immutable, it is this naked joy, it is this great silence, where you are fully present, in this body, on the theatre stage. You accept to be the actor, you accept to play the spectator, but you are none of that. It's a great relief. It is only then, and only then, that you are freed from the person and all spiritual fantasies, and from everything that only appears with life in this world and the moment of your last breath. Find that, and you will remember, these words I spoke more than 40 years ago, cannot fail. And the circumstances of your lives, your bodies, what you have to live, whatever the content, are only there to make you discover yourself. Do not be upset against any circumstance, accept absolutely everything, be in total indifference, with regard to energies, vibrations, visions, and only then will you really be available, in full, character like yourself, for the truth. And you can only live it instantly. If this is not lived for the moment, it simply means that you still care about a story, a character, or yourself, or at worst, your conscience. Consciousness can never be extinguished by itself, except by the silence of what is perceived, what is seen, and even what is experienced. All the rest are only chimeras, all the rest is only suffering, all the rest is only oscillation, whereas the Absolute is immutable, perpetual, beyond any notion of time as beyond any notion of space, or even of dimensions. You can only recognize yourself, it cannot be otherwise, especially in the scenario of the theatre scene of this world. At this moment, everything is done, by what you call the intelligence of light, or the creative intelligence, whatever, to make you rediscover what you have always been, and which has been forgotten. Consciousness is a decoy, total. Agape does not need consciousness, does not need resonance. It is the moment when you become the whole space, accepting to be nothing, simply placing, in what is present. What is present is life. You do not even have any presence, because at that moment, you will be disappointed, you will have an alternation of joy, and an alternation of suffering, while only agape, in this immutable state, can never fluctuate. Even if you do observe small fluctuations, you can only notice that they never last long. You'll thus be more and more available for what you are and not for what you believe, experience, or life, whether on the inner screen of the self, which is still only a screen, or through your person. You'll then be life, not something that passes. you will find what has always been there, and it is of an elementary simplicity. There is no one, there is only the truth. Only he who lives it will be able to accept the words, and in this completeness, where nothing can be lacking, and where nothing can be in excess, it is a state of equilibrium, beyond all polarity, beyond all oscillation, and beyond all disturbance, whatever your age. For those who looked at my incarnation, you knew it. I had throat cancer, until the last moment I was lucid, and I was not affected in any significant way. Look today in your life, are you disturbed by my voice, by the noise, by an untimely ringing, or do you remain lucid, in the heart of the heart? Everything that comes and goes cannot be true, no matter what you do in your scenario, no matter what life offers you, or takes you away, it doesn't make any difference. You're at that moment firmly established in the heart of the heart, in what I believe you call the black hole, of that ultimate and that absolute. It is only there and only then that you remember who you are. Beyond being, you are above all non-being. Of course, these words are terrifying for the conscience, for spiritual pride, and for those who believe they are someone or something. At that moment, what would appear, beyond the joy in the character, who should live life? A total availability, for everyone, without hesitation. You can no longer make a difference between the saint and the murderer, you can no longer make a difference between your child and any child. It is not something you are going to apply as conduct, or morality, it is obvious, there too. As long as you are focused on yourself, it is only spiritual pride. Life, in the present circumstances, takes care of you in every possible way, to remind you of that. And as the commander said, it leads to what? To agape or suffering. Even if you are suffering, and if you have hit sparks of agape, you must accept that you can do nothing about it, and that is enough. It is the attention, the awareness you put on what is happening to you, that turns you away from agape. You're responsible for what you create, even now. What do you want to create? The ineffable peace that is to be found, or the agitation of conscience? The pursuit of an experience, or the living of the ineffable? Because right now, many brothers and sisters are trying, from all over the world, to pursue the dream of consciousness. They are exposed to great suffering that will allow them to rebound, if I can, and to discover with amazement the truth. Only the one who is a child, who is spontaneous, lucid and true lives the truth. Everything else is just passing through. And you know that very well. You live it every minute. Not necessarily in your visions or in the self, but through your character. Are you available for what life sends you? Ask about anything. Are you in this total acceptance of what is? Have you seen that you can't change anything about what is, that you can't desire anything, that you can only accept or not? Everything else is just cinema. Everything else will become a pain, an illusion too. Do you want to keep cheating? Do you want to continue playing? Do you want to let yourself be carried away in dreams, or do you want to find yourself? That's the way you have to ask yourself the question. The ultimate question. Are you true with yourself? Are you authentic? Are you in this apparent form, for those who are in the self, of divine indifference? Do you feel upset when you are attacked? If so, you are not real. You are still subject to action and reaction, to oscillations. Don't feel guilty about my words. They are there, to cross you, to shake you up, to stop this charade. As we have told you, by other voices, the simulacrum and the sacred emerged. Where are you looking from? What is most important to you? The truth or your husband or child? Be logical. It is not required to leave children or husbands, but where are your priorities? Where is the truth? The one who lives the truth will live his character, his body, with the greatest liveness, whatever his age. You can only see the changes as soon as you are true. Otherwise, there will be oscillations, there will be cogitations, there will be emotions, there will be manifestations of the body that can no longer pass through, and that will be established by what you call crystallizations, eliminations. They are no longer habits, they are no longer beliefs, but an error of appreciation of what consciousness is in its different and multiple aspects. A free person is precisely the one who is freed from his or her person. But the person, she's still there. Simply, you can no longer be deceived by everything that happens there. You are fully available for the moment, for life and what life brings you or takes you away. You no longer make a difference. It is a permanent satisfaction, a permanent jubilation that does not depend on any set or actor. Life will take on more and more responsibilities every day to show you, to demonstrate it to you. And when you get tired of oscillating, you'll find what's always been there. By weariness, by exhaustion, by disease itself, if necessary. Silence. Anything else? Any questions? Who wants to talk? Sister. A brother comes to talk. Brother, is it okay with you if I say, I am who I am? In the sense that I don't care about who I am. I accept everything, to be nothing, to be everything or anything. You can consider it a mantra. But you can repeat it forever, that's not why you'll live it. The best testimony of truth is your availability to what you could call devotion or service to the other. You're available for what life brings you to encounter, in your body, in relationships and in the very process of the theater scene. You can rely on it, but it's not enough. You notice, when you are immutable, that you can no longer be destabilized, that no matter what happens, you always remain the same. That's what's important. It is, these words of naked joy, of evidence, of simplicity, of the ways of childhood and innocence. This is the moment when you strip yourself of all that is superfluous. Unintentionally, it happens by itself. Stories, memories, projections into a new world, into a new dream, into a new illusion. You're all in one piece, starting now. Without delay, without research, without projection, without waiting from the moment you surrender. From the moment you don't claim anything for yourself. From the moment you are in this divine indifference, then you remember, you live it. And this will be reflected, even within the actor, the character and the observer, by this famous availability at the present instant, to what is there, beyond you and beyond any other. You are nothing because you are the whole. But to want to be the all, or to live the all without having seen that the all comes from the nothing and that the all contains the nothing and that the nothing contains the all, by living it, it will remain something that passes. What you are, I repeat, will never pass. This creates a relaxation that will allow you to live your character in a great fluidity, in a great facility whatever the conditions of the character or body or what you call your life. But if you are taken away, disturbed by what you are told, by what you have to live, you are not motionless. You are not in silence. Even if you keep your words quiet and retire somewhere. You do not have to withdraw, you have to be fully there, in the instant, fully available. Let things happen to you. Do not stop them, do not ask for them, do not project them, be fully aware of your own gestures or the gestures of life, of your relatives, of your enemies, of your friends. They are also you and as much you as you are yourself. It's not a belief, but it's something to live for. And as we told you, you can only recognize yourself. It's impossible otherwise. It's the natural state. There is more chance, more real probabilities, of being what you are, beyond being, for the one who is a child, for the one who asks for nothing, but the one who hopes in, I do not know what future, or I do not know in what vision, or in what manifestation of consciousness. The conscience will always be there, but then you are no longer fooled. Neither the observer or witness, which was a step, nor your person, nor anything that could happen. You are not the unfolding. You are what created this to allow you to see and live the truth. You don't have to make an effort. As long as you think you are making an effort, you are moving away from yourself. As long as you have to think, lighten up, do this or do that, you cannot be stabilized. You oscillate. It is immutability and permanence, which is the stigma of the absolute. Whatever your character says, whatever the course of your life says, at that moment you are life, but you are no longer your life. You're at the service of the present instant. You are not looking for any advantage, you are not asking for anything. You are simply there, where life places you. There are many more possibilities to find yourself, to recognize yourself in a very simple activity, than in what you would call any kind of search. Research creates an illusory distance. It is the game of consciousness to perpetuate the dream. You are prior to that, and it is a great freedom, since you really recognize yourself beyond the simograms of consciousness, beyond vibrations and beyond all forms of consciousness. This does not prevent the conscience from being the relay of this absolute, but you are no longer fooled. As I have said before I repeat, this is a great freedom that cannot be compared to anything. It is incomparable, it is unmeasurable, it is inexpressible. It can only be lived, and you can only recognize yourself. The universes will pass away, the consciousness will be annihilated in all its forms and manifestations, but you will always be there. You've always been there. As you have been told, you have simply forgotten it, through the play of the mind, through the vicissitudes of life, through obligations. But you have nothing to run from. You have to assume, that's autonomy and responsibility. Silence. Any other questions? Sister: yes. We have a question. Sister: thank you BIDI for your presence, I can't hear anything. Sister: thank you BIDI for your presence. It's the first time I've been there. So what? Sister: that's it, I'll tell you about it. Thank you. Sister: that's it. I felt a heaviness on my head that went down on my neck. At some point, I couldn't even hold my neck anymore. And a slight pain there, which appeared, brother, on the left shoulder. Sister: on the left shoulder. And I'm wavering between, it's me. Sister: between waking up and sleeping. That's right. Sister: yes. What is this pain? It's a resistance on my side, or what is it? Don't try to find out what it is. Sister: okay. Accept it, right now, in the instant. Sister: that's it. It's accepted, and here we go. There you go. You got it all figured out. Sister: that's it. Thank you. You're welcome. Sister: I just wanted to testify. Wonderful. Who else is here for the first time live? Silence. We have the means to make you talk. Laughs. You are the illustration, in what you have just said, that from the moment you accept, you go through the energy, the consciousness, as you said, half awake, half asleep, and then you feel how. Sister: good. Thank you. Sister: thank you BIDI. Silence. Whatever you feel, whether it is fire, whether it is my presence in your Marian channel, whether it is the fact of feeling anything in your body, in this present moment, you who are there, accept. Freedom is just behind. Silence. That's better. Silence. Sister: you are strong, my dear BIDI. Yes, I feel in my heart, in my whole body. I feel it in my whole body. Can you repeat next door, if you're there? Sister: our sister says she feels your strength all over her body. I'm you as you are me. Silence. Sister: that is then, perhaps the part of me I didn't know until then. But today, I discovered it. Thank you, that's what it's for. Sister: thank you. That's why I manage in every way. Laughs. For years. I will not let you go until the truth grabs you, and releases you and sets you free. And free you from your own conscience. It is a pleasure that nothing can match. Sister: and your presence is reassuring for us. We love your presence. But I am also in your heart because I am you. Sister: there you go. You recognized yourself. Sister: yes, that's right. Silence. Whatever your feelings right now, whatever your perceptions, you are not that. Welcome them, without asking anything, cross them or rather let them cross you. You're right behind me. Silence. The problem with the great silence is that there will no longer be anyone to ask questions. Do not hesitate. Sister, now I no longer wait 23 hours to be with you. I think of you during the day and I feel like I see your smile and it makes me smile. I can even tell you that you can think of any human being who is present on the earth simply by the idea, by the thought, without asking anything, you will realize that he is in you. And that it's all in you. The world is you, the other is you. There is nothing visible that is not excluded from who you are. It is a great lightness to live. Since you recognized yourself at that moment, the notion of time no longer means anything. The notion of space no longer means anything. Many of you are living it. Sister, and it gives me great freedom. That's freedom. That's freedom. That's exactly what it is. The more you agree with the presence of anyone in you, the lighter you are. You absorb the creation, the dream. Really. Silence. It is when you are empty of yourself, of the dream, that you are full, not before. There is no need for any will, any desire, any projection. It's all here. Here, there, right now. As soon as you are available. And when I talk about thinking, I'm not talking about the mind. You think BIDI is here. You think anyone is there. It's something to live for. Silence. Sister, I give, finally, I live, I think, the rapprochement of the person and what is eternal, more and more closer. It gives me great joy. There you go. It is a great joy and, above all, as you say, there is a form of suddenness and immediacy. It can't fail. As has been said and repeated, we are one in the other, not only as human forms or as consciences or as absolutes, but it concerns everything, absolutely everything, even the setting. Even what you call aliens, they are you. There is no distance. Distance is created by consciousness, by the scenery, by the idea of being on a planet and turning around a sun. You're also the sun. Silence. You can also talk about your lived experience, as you did. Because it gives, in a way, points of support and benchmarks that can still be useful for many. How do you feel right now? Sister, yes, everyone says, well, light, great, happy. Everyone has a smile on their faces. And you see, you don't need to sleep anymore. You're fully present. Sister, but, while being fully present, I have the impression that even the whole body is caught in this great silence. Before, it was just the heart and then the whole body becomes one, it disappears, yes. The body disappears and at the same time, we are present. That's right. That's right. You're not on the run. You are not in denial, you're in reality. Sister, and it's weird, the body becomes the big black and I still just have hands and feet. To remind me that I'm here. Laughs. Only the most peripheral parts remain. Sister, that's weird. Do not hesitate. It's good for all of us. Sister, our sister would just like to say, sister, I had gotten used to you and I didn't think I was going to be rushed yet. And then, well now I accepted, it's okay, but at first I was very ill. It's my first live broadcast and I was in a lot of pain. And then I accepted and it's perfect. You're the living demonstration of what I am saying. Ignore approval or inconvenience or acceptance, accept everything, make no difference, and you are free right behind it. This is the purpose of my presence on this day, for you and for those who will listen. If we can say, there is another octave of the manifestation of the Absolute on the theater stage. Alright, it's going to make a bit of a mess. How do you say it? It's a mess, alright. Everything burns and catches fire, you see it from everywhere, but it's normal, you don't need a theater stage anymore, you don't need a set. You no longer need theater at all, neither the actor nor the observer. And that's where you're ill. That's where you recognize yourself, like I recognize myself in you. There is immediacy. Remember that word. It's going to become more and more clear to you. As soon as you let go, you find yourself. As soon as you no longer have the slightest claim, you find yourself. As soon as you accept everything without even knowing what you accept, you find yourself. There are no words. Of course, we talk about it, but when you live it as you say, how do you feel? Sister, very well. Thank you. Sister, thank you BIDI. But before that we used to go into stasis. That's right. Sister. And now we are disappearing while remaining totally present. Yes, it may seem paradoxical, it is indeed. Absence and presence are combined, that is, you maintain yourself more and more easily, even without knowing this, without having lived it before, on the edge of being and non-being, thanks to your welcome, thanks to your availability, and as I said, it is immediate, it is instantaneous. And as soon as you've seen it, understood it, lived it, it's over. You will no longer oscillate, whatever the events of your body, of your life. You may very well have emotions, it is not a question of repressing them, it is especially a question of not stopping them. Go through everything with confidence. You will very quickly be rewarded, if I may say so, by freedom. This is the moment when, as you say, there is both absence and presence, the moment when you can no longer make a distinction between the character, the self, the consciousness and the absolute. You're reunited. That's exactly what it is. And life flows. And life flows and everything becomes fluid, everything becomes magical in the noble sense of the word, everything becomes magical. Everything is crossed, without effort. It's never an effort. And as soon as there is this instantaneity, this absence merged with the presence, that you are really everything and nothing, here and now, not tomorrow, in another place. Right away. Right away. Claim it now. It's your due. But this claim must not be a request projected over time, but an affirmation. And that's where it is. The intelligence of light, as Ebba said, is everywhere at hand. This is the moment when you really see and live that there is neither nor outside, that there is no before, there is no after, whatever the perceptions, since you feel well, since you are sensitive, what is happening? This heat, this fire. You penetrate the space and yet you are there, in the heart of the heart. It is the truth that breaks into the dream. Whatever calls this consummation of love, it is real, you live it, right now. It's your due. It cannot be any other way, except for the one who is hooked by his perception, by his consciousness. He didn't give up anything. Either you dropped everything or you didn't drop anything. There is no half measure anymore. And as you said, no matter how dense you may feel, paradoxically, there is a lived experience of lightness. That is what is happening. Right now, together. There is nobody in the instant at the same time, and yet there is everyone, all worlds, all perceptions, all vibrations. And you find that you are independent of that. As has been said, this is a great freedom. We can no longer even talk about external or internal freedom, it is a freedom of all. This is where you fully recognize yourself. You can only even see in the course of your person's life that it will remain so. This lightness, it is real. You are living the dream, but you know you are dreaming. There's nothing to run away from, especially not. There's nothing to avoid. I said it when I was incarnate. When I see and live that I am the whole, it is love. When I see and live that I am nothing, it is wisdom. And this wisdom has no use for your character. It is not a wisdom of appearance, of the one who will dress in such a way, or who will use pretty words. It is the ineffable truth. Come on, let's get warm. Laughs. Sister, everything seems to be clear BIDI, for everyone. What? Sister, everything seems to be clear to everyone. It is very clear from the moment you accept it, you live it. I repeat this word. Everything will be more and more immediate, at the turn of a suffering, at the turn of an event, at the turn of a joy as well as a sadness. It makes no difference. Everything is only a pretext and an opportunity to remember and rediscover the truth. You chose the setting to remember. Silence. Let's heat up. Sister, I can testify to the lived experience of the instant. So talk into the microphone and get closer, it'll avoid repeating. Sister, it's just a small testimony of the lived experience of the instant, which makes the person laugh, finally laugh. The person laughs. Sister, because the person actually does, she hears about freedom, and then she realizes that she has no choice. As long as you believe you have a choice somewhere, you cannot be free. It has been said and repeated by other voices. The choice is only a disorder, an illusion, and substitute for freedom. Freedom is not a choice. It is the evidence that will never depend on a choice, never on a decision, but simply on a memory of the initial instant as you were before you were 2 years old, before saying, as life goes on, I am such a first name, such a name, such a profession, such a nationality, such a religion. You predate all this. It's a blessing. You can see it well under scenery, the scene of the world, the sudden aspect, whether it is the burning of forests, the awakening of volcanoes or peoples, it is the same thing. It's you. From everywhere, it's you. It's just you. Sister, may I make a small comment about the notion of freedom that the sister just mentioned? You can repeat into the microphone as you go along, otherwise no one will hear. Sister, with regard to the theme of freedom, the concept, the sister sees how we choose nothing, everything is there is no freedom. On the other hand, I think that since everything is there is nothing to choose from. There is just to live and experience what is coming up. And in this situation, we feel free, light more precisely, without weight, without reflection. No need to choose anything, just be there and experience what is coming and what is going through us. I heard that. The microphone, I don't know. Sister, it is in my hand. Oh, I'm sorry. Sister, there you go, thank you. That's right, that's right. Thank you very much. Sister, thank you BIDI for this opportunity. Sister, but when you are in this hole and this nothing, there is still a remnant of observer, even if I can talk to you while living this. We agree with you. This is what I call the edge of being and non-being, otherwise there would be no one to talk about it, we would all be consumed. Sister, well, yes, but we're still here. Sister, oh yes. So necessarily, in this freedom, there is a residual observer, otherwise there would be no one else to talk about it. Fortunately, as I said, it is the absence that is merged with the presence. That's exactly what it is. When I say that the observer disappears, you live life. The actor is there until the last moment of the dream, the observer too. But you're no longer fooled by either one of them. This is freedom, this is lightness, and this is what will be more and more striking in every sense of the word, and immediate. You already live it here. Sister, our brother would like to express himself. Let's listen. Brother, in fact, how to clear the mind, the head. Are you talking about mind or thought? Brother, what is the difference? Mind is something that turns in a loop. A thought comes and passes through you. There is no point in wanting to know where the thought comes from, it is secreted by life. But simply your availability makes thoughts purge themselves. There is no need to remain in emptiness, in nothingness, in the absolute, since it is translated through the person now, through the presence, provided that we do not remain frozen on the presence. Thinking is creative. From the moment you think of BIDI, BIDI is there. As soon as you think of anyone, it's there. As soon as you think I'm a dreamer, the dream is there, but it's enlightened. You have nothing to reject. You have everything to go through. So don't try to make your thoughts disappear. Today they are not an inconvenience at all. It's not the mind. Do not confuse intelligence, mind and thought. The mind is always linked to the past or the future. Thinking today is free. That is what life secretes, as I said, which is precisely there to help you. As our sister said earlier, I think of BIDI. BIDI is there, that's a thought. The mind would be to say I don't hear BIDI, I don't see BIDI, I call BIDI, I don't see it, I don't feel it, that's the mind. A thought comes and goes. It is used to reveal the truth. The mind creates the abyss, creates a distance, creates a lag. Intelligence is not knowledge. Intelligence is the ability beyond the senses, beyond reflection, beyond the mind, and beyond thought, to see things as all connected and having the same causality, and having the same purpose, without seeing or living the details. Here too it is an inner certainty. I had the opportunity to say it many years ago. All knowledge is ignorance. True knowledge is inside. It is not a knowledge of anything, it is a recognition of the initial instant. And by standing on that edge, you cross everything. When I say by standing up, it is not you who decide, it is done as soon as you accept. Silence. Consciousness will serve you until the last moment, and fortunately, to live life, to assume what is to be assumed, with the same equanimity, the same regularity, the same mood, the same stability, the same benevolence that is natural. Silence. Everything happens in what must happen, nothing happens in what must not happen. You can gesticulate in all directions, you can believe that you can act, use action in life, but not in relation to who you are. You are beyond being, you are beyond non-being. I said it when I was incarnate, the only difference between my listeners and me is that I knew I was God. The others, not yet, this was not the time. God is not external, He is internal, He is everywhere. It is everything you see, everything you touch, everything you perceive, everything you reject too. So we're not going to come out omniscient, omnipotent, etc. But it's you. Silence. Doesn't it smell like burnt yet? Sister. No, I'm fine. It smells good. Laughs. Silence. Brother, I would like to testify. We're listening to you. Brother, from the beginning, I listened to each other and then I listened to myself. And I perceived the whole middle part of my body as empty, with a heavy presence on my right side and lighter on the left. My 2 feet were one. I had 1 foot instead of 2. And then everything happened, this tension on the right, I understood that there was, how to say, like a current too strong. I let go of the power and then it became normal. And my right ear is having trouble dissolving, it's really hard. And after a while, it's like cutting off all the power in my body. I almost collapsed, like a void. You translate through the perception of your body what I called standing at the edge of being and non-being, of density, the dream, and of lightness. Because I can assure you that what you were living within the dream, from the happiest to the most unfortunate, is density. And when you stand as you say on the midline where there's some kind of difference between left and right, is that right? Brother, yes, that's right. Well, you stand on the edge of being and non-being. You translate it into your body. Your body reflects it to you. The feeling and perception also reflect it to you. But as you observed, as soon as you agreed to let go, the power stopped. Brother, with a feeling of falling. It is emptiness. Silence. And of course, the changes in your personal attitudes, your personal behaviors, your very history on the theater stage, can only change completely. You don't decide anything. Everything will then be done by the intelligence of the light that you are, to make you live in lightness and freedom. It is constant in everyone, no matter what they say today. I'm saying it's not a reward, it's not an acquisition. It's your due that's always been there. I told it when I was incarnate. I had a master who, before he died, told me you're the whole. I didn't understand anything. I repeated myself for 3 years, I am the whole thing, stupidly. And I was free. From me, from the world, from everything that emerged in life, in my life, because I let it be and not be what was to be manifested, without choosing, without deciding, with that as the only goal. But as everything was me, as my master had told me, I could not project it, neither another place nor in any adoration, I could only recognize myself. Today you have much easier access to my time than I do because time and space are seen for what they are, and lived as they are, something that is flowing, something that is not true. We are no longer in what I called at the time the point of view or positioning, since you are from everywhere and at the same time nowhere. Silence. Brother, I am the whole, that means I carry the world in my heart. All of creation, all times, all spaces, all dimensions. You don't wear them, you are. It's just you. And all the others are you. It's not outside, it's inside. And you will find then that there is neither nor outside nor inside. Yes, that's the way it is. Silence. Sister. Silence, brothers and sisters, I felt that it is as if everyone is satisfied and in the total embrace, absence of any curiosity, any question or interrogation. Isn't this really the embrace of all that is? Do not feel the need to say or question or ask anything. It's about saying what you're going through. Sister, we're fine. That's what I am, good. That's what I'm going through. That's the natural state. The eternal and absolute I. Nothing more, nothing less, it's not complicated. And this state, beyond any state, will no longer leave you or less and less, since this is where you are at home and not elsewhere. Silence. Any other lived experience to express, then? Brother, I am currently perceiving as a breath. Something that expands and retracts. Thank you. Silence. You clearly perceive that the more the silence is welcomed, indeed that it seems to grow at the same time as it shrinks. It is as if you were with the universes gathered on a pin or needle head, if you prefer, at the heart of the heart. This is where, as our sister said, you feel good, you feel at home, and this can only show through and emerge through the theater stage, through the actor and the spectator. Everything, in a way, seems to merge, where even words are superfluous, even at the limit where the idea of being and non-being can no longer be discerned or discriminated against or analyzed. Sister, there is just one presence. We're just here, that's all. Sister, there is something else, it is joy that settles in. You could call it something so vast and at the same time so tiny. It is the conjunction of absence and presence in a person that is there. Where there are all the worlds and at the same time, there is no one. It is not an antagonism or a paradox, it is a superposition and a total alchemy. What you are perceiving, for the most part at this moment, is exactly what Myanandamoy was living, which she has expressed to you so much. Silence. If you wish, we can even leave it at that. Stay on this lived experience, let it take everything. Unless you have something else to tell about the lived experience of the instant. Sister, our sister no longer feels her body, like a big void, without form and no longer wanting to talk, but I feel good. Thank you. Brother, then, the same, without form, without limit, a presence. Silence. Sister, after all these wanderings, BIDI, smiling at having returned home. Silence. Yes, that's right. And only silence is the most suitable. Sister, and great. He fills everything up. Silence. anything else to say, to testify. Sister, this state is developing, expanding, as if we were becoming bigger. Silence. Sister, our sister would like to make a small proposal. We're listening to you. Sister, there, just now, a thought crossed my mind on if we could live a moment of silence, as a group, in your presence. I'd like to see how I'd feel. If I have time. I propose 12 minutes of this great silence. Sister, we have time, all the time. Silence. Maybe you don't have to go to the end of the 12 minutes. How are you feeling? Brother, shaken. Laughs. Sister, I feel like I'm no longer limited to my body, but that it encompasses the whole group and a kind of lightning bolt that has descended from the top to the heart. Sister, and I felt an unprecedented joy. It's as if everything is in my heart, the whole universe is there, inhabits me. It's perfect. Just take it back, like if. Because it's not like it's not. It is the truth. Sister, hello BIDI. You know what I'm going through. I offer you my child's joy and the love of having me. I accept and offer you the same. Sister, thank you BIDI. Sister, for me, BIDI, it is the smile that is amplified and all that remains is the smile. You can understand why, when I was incarnate and received a few people, I had this smile. He was neither sneering nor mocking. But because it is the witness of what you are going through. Sister, I feel like I'm going to burst. Have fun, have fun. Sister, it's this immense joy that wants to go out, I don't know if it wants to go in or out but I don't care. Laughs. It is. What do you want to look for after you've been through this? You're beginning to understand what I've been through. Which didn't stop me, when I came into my character, from being a formidable trader. I was having fun. Everything is fun. It's unbearable for the ego, unbearable for the self. But so much this for the truth. End of the disease of consciousness. End of the spiritual scam. I said it, I repeat it. I said it when I was incarnate. The discovery, search and discovery of the truth will put an end to the world and to creation. That's exactly what it is. You're living it now. No dream can come close to it. Silence. Maybe it'll be time to let you get some air, right? Sister, yes, we're getting closer. So, BIDI thanks you for your presence, your absence, your joy, your smile. Great cry, a collective joy, followed by laughter. Sister, it is our way of thanking you and giving you thanks BIDI for everything you bring to us, for your presence, for your absence, for your existence in us, and all that. We learned a lot. Thank you. You have helped us to connect with our true self, with our perpetual joy. So thank you very much. Great cry, a collective joy, followed by laughter. Sister, this is BIDI's thanks to the Tunisian woman. Laughs. Well, it's going to be quite a show in Tunisia. Laughter and applause. I will conclude with these words. The body, this bag of meat, as I called it, which is also a temple, you want to be joy, smile. The smile suits everything from now on. Whatever happens to you, smile and that's enough. Sister, the smile is contagious. I say to you forever. Group, forever. Thank you BIDI. Through Jean-Luc Young. The Transformations. English translation, LMF.